Thank you, sweet Marie. I appreciate that. I'm glad you kept it a little less formal because I'm not really a formal guy. I was at a meeting yesterday and the president was starting to introduce me and he said a couple of sentences. He said, "What else should I say?" I said, "You've already said too much." I like informal opportunities to chat like this, and I guess I will dominate the conversation, the first part a little bit by presenting some information, but I'm looking forward even more to getting to more of a conversational question and answer group discussion kind of part of this meeting. So thank you for allowing me to be with you this morning, and like I said, I'm looking forward to the next hour. I thought what I might do is talk a little bit about kind of the big picture Rotary membership, and then a little bit about your truly remarkable club. And I mean that when I say that. And then maybe talk a little bit about looking forward, future of your club, future of Rotary, perhaps. And then, like I said, maybe a little bit more of a group discussion. So with your permission, I'm going to share my screen. I'm not going to show you a ton of slides today, I promise. Um, but I do have a few to share here. Can you all see that? Okay, the state of membership? Okay, great. So twice a year, Rotary puts out a slide deck like this called the State of Membership. It's about 25 slides. I'm only using a few of those that I think apply to our conversation this morning. But I think it's important because really at our core, Rotary is a membership organization. Now, the rest of the world knows us as a humanitarian organization, and rightly so. Your club certainly reinforces that notion for people outside the organization who see what we do. But at our core, we're a membership organization. We have to take care of our members and we have to serve our members to be sure that we continue to have members. So have just a few numbers to give you an idea of the worldwide scope of our organization. And you'll see that our Rotary, our Rotary Club membership, that we have about 1.13 million members. And you'll see that we dropped in the last Rotary year. We run July to June, of course. We dropped by about 19,000 members over that time. And then in Rotaract, which is not exclusively younger members, but in the US is typically college or university based, and in most other parts of the world, like Jamaica, tends to be more community based. We have another 115,000 members. Now, don't be alarmed by that drop you see last year of almost 50,000 members. Prior to last year, we didn't have good data and we didn't charge dues for Rotaract. And once we started charging very small amounts of dues, Rotaract clubs started cleaning up their rosters because they didn't want to pay for those who were no longer in the club. And people who might have been a Rotaractor 15 or 20 years ago were removed from the rolls. We've been through 2 billing cycles now, so we feel like this 115,000 number is very accurate. It may get refined a little bit with our next billing, but I think we're pretty close to the real number there. You'll also notice, I think quite interestingly, that Rotary clubs worldwide, that we are about 1/4 of our members are women. And in Rotaract, it's almost at gender parity. You can see 46% women, which I think is encouraging. It is interesting to note if you look across the world, particularly on the Rotary side, the Rotary Club side, in areas in the East, for instance, Japan, only 8% of members are women. In the Caribbean, leading the way on this, 42% of Rotary Club members are women. So you see great differences across the world when it comes to gender representation. So of course, our total members are about 1.25 million made up of the Rotary Club members and the Rotaract Club members, and about 45,000 clubs across the world. I mean, it is an incredible humanitarian force doing good in our world. I mean, over 1 million people of action are pretty incredible impact on our world each year. Let's see here. So this gives you a breakdown by region across the world, and you'll see that Asia is our largest region. It's not always been this way by any means. Over the last decade, the Asian region has grown by 26%. They have 26% more members today than they did 10 years ago. Conversely, Great Britain and Ireland has dropped by 30%. Now, they already represented a smaller block of our membership, but they have dropped by 30%. Australia, New Zealand, Pacific Islands have fallen by 25%. And if you look at the US, Canada, and the Caribbean, we have dropped by about 20%. Now, I will tell you, the Caribbean has mostly grown during that time. So if we were to isolate the US and Canada, you would see an even bigger drop. This just happens to be the way our regions are divided around the world. So there's been a real shift, and that may not seem like a big deal, but when you realize in the US and Canada that we have 100,000 fewer Rotarians than we had 10 years ago, you realize, particularly as one of the wealthier areas in the world, we're not able to have the same kind of impact that we could with an additional 100,000 members. The other thing to consider, Marie mentioned that there's 17 elected directors from around the world. Those are designed to represent very similar numbers of constituents from around the world. So we rebalance our board composition, the areas that we represent, every 8 years. So I remember when the board had 7 members, 7 of the 17 from the US and Canada, and then it went to 6, and then to 5. And you might say now there's 4.5 from the US and Canada because one of the zones has been extended into Latin America. So for instance, that paired zones right now is represented by a friend of mine from Mexico. So I don't say that because it's necessarily a bad thing. I think our four-way test dictates that our board should represent like numbers from around the world. But it is interesting to see that shift and to see Asia add a board seat and India to add a board seat over that time. So this is a look at your district, which is District 7710, and these numbers were current as of yesterday. Now, I put 52 clubs, and I heard Marie say you have about 45. It's possible I accidentally picked up Rotaract clubs when I looked at that, so it probably should be 45. But this is looking at Rotary Club members and not Rotaractors in this particular slide. And what you'll notice is, for instance, your district has 33% women versus the worldwide average of 26%. I think that's encouraging. I know your club is a standout in this area. You're doing much better than that. Interesting to see members under the age of 50 and over the age of 50. So 19% for your district versus 23% around the world. And I think these are helpful, perhaps interesting statistics to look at. So, of course, we are putting a good bit of our resources and our time and our efforts into growth in Rotary. And I say growth, not just membership growth. I say growth because we want to not only grow our membership, we want to grow our support of the Rotary Foundation. We want to grow our opportunities for fellowship, our opportunities for service. We want to grow our impact on the world. So I always think about growth in a more holistic type of view. Starting and nurturing new clubs is extremely important when it comes to growth. We do find that the areas of the Rotary world that are growing are the ones that are starting and nurturing new clubs. Now, while North America has been declining in membership, you're a wonderful club. And I know we have other e-clubs that are relatively new represented on this call. You all represent new clubs creating new pathways into the organization. And I salute you for that. I think it is fantastic that we are adding new clubs in this area and that we're allowing people who would be Rotarians to have a way to join that perhaps they didn't have before. So I think that that's great. I also think having e-clubs, for instance, or having other types of innovative clubs, it demonstrates our ability to adapt, which is one of our 4 strategic priorities. Now, of course, in 2000, almost all our clubs became e-clubs for a period during the pandemic. And we had to really show our ability to adapt. But you all are showing it on a regular basis, and truly, I salute you. I'm always privileged to be able to speak to an e-club and to be able to make new friendships online that I might not get to otherwise. And then second, embracing a culture of care. And you may recall that past President Jennifer Jones talked a lot about the comfort and care of our members. And really what that gets to is, do our members know that they belong to a Rotary family? Do they feel comfortable? Do they feel wanted? Do they feel part of something bigger than themselves? So I think it's quite important that we have that culture of care, both for attracting new members as well as retaining the members who we have and who we enjoy. So quite important there. And then welcoming new members, and this specifically gets to welcoming more diverse new members, the way I view it. And I think that's quite important for engaging our membership, that we are welcoming, that when a person joins or first walks into a Rotary meeting, be that a Terra-based club or a virtual club, like your club, that people feel welcome, that they think I could be a part of this group. It's one of those things that you kind of know it, you feel it right away. So I think that all of these areas are important to our overall growth. And then talking about starting new clubs, I included this slide because it applies so well to your club in this particular meeting. Satellite clubs. You once were a satellite club, which is a club that is attached to an existing club, what's called the sponsoring club. And it's, in some cases, clubs become satellites and they stay attached to their sponsoring club. And in other cases, like your E-Club of Raleigh International, you grow and you become a standalone club yourself. But this is designed to, again, provide new opportunities for members and for prospective members. Passport clubs are interesting. They exist to amplify the service efforts of other clubs, which is a pretty interesting concept. They're not necessarily so interested in having regular meetings, but they are interested in plugging into service projects that are available that they can access, typically in their own communities. And we have several of those passport clubs, quite an interesting model. And then, of course, a cause-based club, which is exactly what the E-Club of Raleigh International is. You are very focused on a particular cause. And we have seen cause-based clubs that are dedicated to scouting, to supporting veterans. There's a cause-based club, or probably more of an interest-based club, that's really focused on motorcycling. And my own district has a couple of interest-based clubs that are based on golfing, which I'm an avid golfer, but I never could have seen a golfing Rotary club in the future of our organization. But those groups, golf is kind of their common interest, but they're very serious about service and fellowship. So golf is kind of their entree to the organization, but they hold the high ethical values that all of us do, and they function very well as Rotarians. So all of that is geared toward being sure that we allow Rotarians to be a part of our organization in the way that works best for them. Now, Rotary does lots of surveying. I met, when I was at headquarters earlier this week, I met with two of the key people who design and implement the surveys. And I have to tell you, I was extremely impressed with the thoughtfulness and the skill and the experience they bring to be sure that they get really valid data. And you see on the screen the reasons that Rotarians leave. Now, number four, personal circumstances. We sometimes call that life happens. A member passes away, a member moves away, not quite as applicable for a virtual club, but for the Terra clubs, that's a big concern. There's a change in life circumstance where there's a need to take care of a parent or take care of a child or a job change that occurs. There are all kinds of things that can go into that personal circumstance. And we can't particularly control those, although often we can help that person find a new Rotary club that might fit his or her changing circumstance a little bit better. But those first three, club environment and culture, it kind of goes to that comforting care and welcoming new members that I mentioned before. Unmet expectations. That's simply I thought it was going to be one thing and it's not that, or perhaps it's not that anymore. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. And then, of course, time and financial obligations. And I think you all have done a great job of being sure that you provide a different kind of experience, particularly meeting virtually and meeting on Saturdays, frankly. So let's talk about when the club experience is really working. And again, this has been surveyed. So members, when they have confidence in their leaders, that's an important part of having a positive club experience, and how much they enjoy the meetings. I mean, you all, outside of this week, you have usually really good speakers come on, but you're suffering through me today. Hopefully, won't bring that down too much. Meaningful service opportunities, just at the core of your e-club. Being comfortable with other members, and that gets to that club environment again, that's so important. And then developing relationships that are meaningful and valuable. So I'm gonna stop that share. I'm not gonna do a full-blown state of membership with you, but I thought having some context for kind of the global side of Rotary membership might be helpful for the rest of our time together this morning. And I think I saw, let's see, something in the chat.
Yeah, Patrick, thank you so much for your comments. And I think the question was something I posted, which is really if you could explore really the difference in impact between having a cause-based club and different types of fellowships that people have joined.
And you're talking about the Rotary Fellowships program of sure.
Mhm.
So Rotary Fellowships bring together Rotarians, Rotaractors, and friends of Rotary who have a common interest. I will, 1 week from now, I will be on a plane going to San Diego to play in the International Rotary Golfing Fellowship, their World Championship. So in that case, that is a group of Rotarians, about 250 of them from around the world, almost every corner of the world, who come together for golf. There are fellowships of stamp collectors. There are fellowships of beer enthusiasts. There are flying Rotarians. And a lot of these fellowships implement service projects, support service projects. Some of them have specific expertise in areas, and they will work with clubs or with districts to implement service projects. So the Rotary Fellowships is a largely undiscovered and unknown program within Rotary that allows, as I said, friends of Rotary as well as members of Rotary and Rotaract clubs to come together, knowing that they have the common values of Rotary and the common interests that is kind of their central theme. So they often do work with clubs and districts to implement service, but they're, to me, a great value piece in Rotary that many folks don't know about. So I wanted to remark a bit about your club because I think your club is incredible. And of course, when I say your club, I'm speaking to the host of this meeting, the E Club of Raleigh International. being a virtual club is still a pretty remarkable thing, allowing people from all parts of the world to come together. I know that your club has members who have been born in other countries, reside in different states. We have the ability this morning for Julia to be here from Oregon, Candace from South Carolina, obviously our friends from Jamaica who are here. It's just a wonderful thing that did not exist not so long ago. And meeting on Saturdays, I think, is remarkable because for many people, that opens up a time block that otherwise would not be available. I just think it's great. You are certainly a cause-based club, with your central theme being serving the only school that serves deaf students in Jamaica. That is a hyper-focused cause-based club and really remarkable. And I'm gonna mention a little bit later about how remarkable in the way that you have been featured in various places. The fact that each of your members commits to hands-on service in Jamaica on at least an annual basis to me is incredible. I don't know of any Rotary Club that has every member commit to hands-on service annually, much less in a different country for many of you, for most of you. The fact that you were able to conduct a significant project in your first year, a $12,000 US based project in Jamaica to support that school with computers and digital projectors, that is unusual. You may not realize that as a reasonably new club, but this is unusual in a very, very good way. And what I'm getting at here is that you have come out of the blocks, to use an idiom. Maybe I shouldn't do that with an international audience, but you've gotten started very, very quickly. Marie shared with me your charter date of March 25th, which is appropriate as the UN International Day of Remembrance of the victims of slavery and the transatlantic slave trade. That is certainly germane to Jamaica and certainly worth a day of remembrance, and particularly for a club that is so focused on serving in Jamaica. I think that is it's thoughtful, it's appropriate, and knowing the Howards, it's not surprising, frankly. So wonderful. I also think that having for a club that's just formed to have an experienced and a distinguished past district governor is unusual. And I think it's probably helped your club get started so quickly because Marie has a view of global Rotary that, frankly, most charter members of a new club wouldn't have. And she knows how to navigate district grants, for instance, to help support your project that you did earlier this year. So she brings a lot of expertise, experience, and relationships in District 7710 and beyond that I think have helped you get started. The timeline that I understand, this club was an idea less than a year and a half ago in the middle of 2023 and a satellite club by August of 2023, just basically a year ago, and then to conduct a significant overseas project by January of 2024. I bet if you looked at clubs based in the US, less than half have done a significant overseas project. And your club did that, just doing quick math here, 4 or 5 months after you were formed as a satellite. That's just amazing. And then to have chartered in March, as I said, you are off to a fast start. And I've alluded to this before that other people have noticed. Marie was invited and gave a presentation across our zone in March of this year to talk about your club. And eyeballs were this big at the accomplishments of this club in such a short amount of time. And the reason that Marie was invited to give that presentation, this was to a group of people who work on creating innovative clubs, was that you're an incredible success story. And you hopefully opened their eyes to the possibilities of what could be in their districts. And maybe it's exactly like your club, or maybe it spurs a new thought, but that's why we share great successes like your club. I mentioned before the call got started to Julie that I was at Rotary International earlier this week. I flew up last Sunday and flew home Wednesday. We had exhaustive and exhausting Rotary International membership committee meetings all day Monday and Tuesday. Her cousin is the chair of that committee. He lives in Montego Bay. And they started talking about successful, innovative clubs. And I shared about your club, basically straight from Marie's presentation because I remembered it so well. And trust me, it got people's attention that the US, which is kind of known for being the standard old style of club, that a club that's based in the US, made up of international members, a club that has gender parity or maybe even slightly female majority, a club that is so diverse in ethnicity and country of origin. Trust me, that got the attention of the committee. And again, opens eyes to what can be. So I just want you to know that you all are, again, to use an idiom from the US, you are on the radar internationally. People are watching what you're doing and are impressed. Now, I looked at, and I hate to talk this much. I swear we're going to get to more conversation. I like my voice and I don't even want to hear it this much. But I think you all are at 21 active members right now. And maybe we're a little bit higher earlier this year. And I just want to tell you, that's not only typical of a newer club, it's predictable. Almost every club I've been a part of, whether I was their club advisor starting a new club or a district governor, almost every club at that 12 to 24, usually 12 to 18 month period, kind of has a leveling off or a little bit of a lull. And I always think it's a cool transition. Now, some people have said to me, this is kind of like the awkward teenage years. To me, it's a cool transition because it's the point where you've got your core. This is the core of your club where you will enter the next phase as you start to grow. You all know what your club is. You have an opportunity to shape the direction going forward, which may be exactly what you've been doing, or it may be a little bit different. Either is fine. But like I said, this is typical, predictable, and completely normal. So you have this opportunity going forward to consider what do you want to do and what's going to be most engaging, not only for your current members, but for members who we hope will join. And so I encourage you to have candid conversations. David, I'm kind of looking to you on this. An opportunity, I saw him look, uh-oh, what's coming? An opportunity to survey members and to have one-on-one conversations. What's working? What would a member like to see that maybe isn't happening right now? And to be receptive to that feedback because it's a gift. It's a gift when your members tell you what they want out of your club. But to create that environment where you all are talking about what you want the club to be. It may be that you want to continue exactly where you are, serving that school in Kingston. It may be that you want to engage groups or charities in your own local communities that serve Jamaica. I mean, I know, for instance, in North Carolina, there are 15,000 native-born Jamaicans in the state, and I know a good number of your members are here in North Carolina. There is a group in Raleigh, which I realize you're not the same as a Terra-based club where everybody lives in that area, but there's a group in Raleigh that supports Jamaica. You're at this nice fork in the road where you get to decide how you move forward, what your club will be going forward. I think it might be valuable to engage Rotary clubs. And I say this because so few Rotaractors become Rotarians. It's about 4 or 5%. But with a virtual club, with an e-club, you have a real opportunity, particularly with US-based Rotaractors who tend to be in universities, as they move to what's next after university, your club is a great opportunity for them to be connected to Rotary. I think that could be a source of new and young energy, new members. So I think that's worth considering. Um, I would say this, as you bring in new members, a really cool thing I've seen some other clubs do that you might consider is to have uh, a group of new members who say joined in the same year, have them design and organize and lead and report on a new project. It does a lot of things. First off, it shows those of you who've been in the club the value that these new members bring. It brings new ideas to your club from what I would expect to be a more diverse viewpoint with new members. It helps build new leaders in your club, and it certainly helps create a sense of cohesion among that cohort of new members. I think they're much more likely to be engaged and stay in your club if they have kind of that pack, that cohort within your greater club. So those are just a few ideas. I am sure in small conversations, there will be many ideas, probably better ideas. But I encourage you to have those conversations. This is really a key time in the life of your club because, as I said, I think you've found your core. This is the group that's going to lead this club forward, and getting everybody's input, I think, will be really important. Now, I want to mention one last thing, and then I'm going to let you all talk. During our membership committee meeting, 3 statistics were shared, and when I heard them, I thought of your club. It said when a club is focused on a cause, it draws 16% more members. When a club has a mix of member ages, as you do, it draws 10% more members. And when a club's membership cost is below the national median, it draws 8% more members. You've got all 3 going for you. You've got great energy, and as I said, you're head of the pack in terms of what clubs can do in the first year. You are the model, with so much open real estate and possibilities in front of you. So I think you are poised to move into an exciting new phase, to continue having incredible impact and determine exactly what that's going to look like. So I'm going to shut up now. It's like I said, you've heard enough from me. Oh